Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Tyrants get lost in their drunkenness of power. And at one point, they start believing that the population is easily manipulated and kept down. Unfortunately for them, the population, or we, the people, have preferences and have different way of seeing things and looking at at things. Therefore, we might not be so easily controlled. In this case, we have Brussels in the European Union that tries to keep all these different countries under the same umbrella, but not necessarily under the same values. And unfortunately for these people at Brussels and their handlers, they cannot contain various countries from thinking and fighting for their own interest. So, as the former US President Abraham Lincoln said at one point, you can't fool all the people all the time. You can fool some people, sometime, but not all the people all the time. So the same here, you can keep together countries, some countries sometimes, but not all the countries all the time. So we know that Brussels' idea of immigration differs from some countries in the European Union's vision of immigration, because it seems like they have two different values. Brussels has a inclusive value, and nation states with their nations and traditions and cultures have their own exclusive lives and, as I said, cultures, and they're exclusivist. So it's a contradiction. So you can keep them with money and with interests and with weasels in positions of control of their countries, supporting certain politicians to get elected and all that. But for some time, well, the time is up, at least on this area. And you have coalitions within the European Union. And the coalition now is between Hungary, Austria, and Serbia. And the coalition is formed against immigration. So let's see what's going on here. Yesterday, I made another video on Poland finishing up its border wall with Belarus to contain immigration coming in. So, if it's immigration, it's coming in, right? This comes from Associated Press from October 3rd, 2022. Hungary, Austria, and Serbia work together to stem migration. The leaders of Hungary, Austria, and Serbia met Monday in Budapest to find solutions on how to stem the increasing number of migrants arriving in Europe, among them many young men from India. The three leaders agreed to take joint action to control the new arrivals along the migration route that leads through Serbia. Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer told reporters after the meeting that the joint action plan would include increased police cooperation along the borders, as well as supporting Serbia when it comes to deporting migrants back to their home countries. And I'm quoting, "We will directly support Serbia to carry out repatriations and not only support technical know-how, but also do everything possible that is necessary and financially support them," Nehammer said. The Austrian Chancellor lauded Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić's announcement that by the end of the year, Serbia would align its visa policies with the European Union. Serbia is an EU candidate country, but not a member yet, so that the visa-free regime with some non-EU countries is no longer used for migration purposes. And I'm quoting, "We will thus prevent the situation when someone uses Serbia as a country of arrival, but not because of their real needs, but for illegal migration towards the West," Vučić said. Hungarian President Viktor Orban, I don't think he's the president, isn't the prime minister, said, "With this meeting today, we mobilized a force to defend borders so we decrease the pressure on us and the EU," Serbia's June news agency reported. Among the migrants recently detained in Austria who have applied for asylum to avoid immediate deportations, Indians accounted for the biggest group in September, according to the government data. How is it possible? I know that India is in a economic boom, or at least it was until about 2 months ago, last time I checked. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that all the Indians are, but I didn't hear of Indian migration. This is the first time when I hear it. I heard about, Middle Eastern migration, African, North African, Sub-Saharan African, but Indian? The first time I hear this, it's news to me. Indians are not allowed to enter the EU without a visa, but have taken advantage of being able to travel to Serbia, which they can enter without a visa. From there, many are trying to reach Western European countries with the help of traffickers. Monday's meeting in Hungarian capital came after announcement by the Czech Republic and Austria last week that they would launch temporary border controls at their crossing with Slovakia to stop migrants from entering. Well, interesting. If you remember, or if you don't, I will remind you, there was a little alliance, and it was called the Visegrad Alliance, or Visegrad countries, and they were Bulgaria, Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Poland. All these Central European countries from the former Eastern Bloc, European Eastern Bloc, because they had approximately the same kind of past under the yoke of communism, they formed a bloc. Sometimes Austria was, trying to get in and out sometimes, but it was mainly these four. And they were blocking certain policies coming from the leaders, the handlers from Brussels. So it seems like this forms, but a little bit different, and I'm very surprised with Austria, but Austria has now its own interest. So you see, this interest, they still keep the national interest, which should be before the Brussels interest and the European so-called Union's interest. Because after all, if you take a Romanian and you take an Austrian, they have some similarities, but they have many, many things that are not, similar in their cultures, in their traditions, in their religion. So certain things have value for one country or for one people, and certain things have no value for those, or not that important. But it seems like keeping the nation state and keeping your nation as a nation still is there in your DNA. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.